You are listening to the College Basketball Report with Grant Shouse and Mike Hutsell, their preview of the Final Four, and it's only on the Central Indiana Sports Report. Welcome, college basketball fans, to the Final Four Report with Grant Shouse and Mike Hutsell. And Final Four, of course, this year in Indianapolis. We got Arizona against Michigan. We got Illinois against UConn. And I think the having Duke as the number one overall seed really screwed up this weekend, guys.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you could make the argument. I could tell this Duke team was kind of. I don't think they were ready for it. They obviously struggled in their opening round game against Siena. The TCU game in the second round was a dogfight. Sweet 16 with St. John's was a dogfight. They were able to pull it out. And just, Mike, I guess my first question for you is, how in the world do you blow a 19-point lead in the Elite Eight like that and lose on what is now one of the most iconic plays in the history of the NCAA tournament?
You just have to completely melt down, and it was pretty obvious that Duke was young. They didn't face a lot of tests over the course of the season. They lived a pretty charmed life over the whole year. They won tough games. They won the Michigan game. So it's not like they didn't play good competition or anything, but they in the ACC, it's kind of, I don't want to say it's low major, but it's not a rugged test for them anymore. They're padding up. They're running up big numbers against Carolina's been down. It's Clemson basketball. It is what it is. It's a 5 to 8 seed in the tournament every year. Louisville was not nearly as good as Louisville thought Louisville was going to be this year. Miami was no
doubt the Big 10 and Big 12 were head and shoulders above everybody else.
Yeah, but to Duke's credit though, they won big game. They won that Michigan game, and if you were putting the two teams side by side and you had to choose, Duke had 2 losses and beat Carolina. So Arizona was probably the number 1 seed to me. But then Arizona should have been 1. Duke, then in that case, you make Duke 2. Michigan goes to 3. Florida. Yeah. Florida wasn't a bad case for the 4th, the number 1. I don't really think you could argue against it that much. So I'm not here to really reseed everything, but you're right, though. It would have been awesome to see Michigan and Arizona on opposite ends of the bracket so that we could see that matchup Monday night. But we're going to get, I think, 2 pretty good matchups out of this weekend based on the way the bracket's laid out. And a lot of local intrigue, quite frankly. 2 Big Ten teams. And then Arizona, who's been the best team probably all season, is there. They don't really have a lot of local ties. But then you've got, obviously, Matt Painter's biggest whiff in recruiting possibly ever, not getting Braylon Mullins to come to Purdue. And now he's in the Final Four at UConn.
There's actually Indiana fingerprints on every team in the Final Four. Where, of course, you got Michigan and Dusty May, who went to Eastern Green, an assistant coach for Arizona, Jason Gardner Jr., who played at Arizona. He went to North Central and also was the coach at IUPUI at one time. And then, of course, you got Mullins at UConn. That needs really no introduction now. And then Ben Hummerkaus, of course, from Tipton, and Jake Davis, who went to Cathedral, both at Illinois. So it's kind of a coincidence you get 4 teams in there that have a little fingerprint pointing at Indiana, which is where the Final Four is. So I think that's pretty cool. The Michigan-Arizona game, I'm real glad that TV puts that as the second game of the night, kind of the nightcap there. It's the heavyweight, the 2 1 seeds remaining, and that is what I think is going to be absolute cinema. That game is going to be awesome. And I think, in my opinion, those are the 2 best teams in college basketball all season long. Again, like you just said, Mike, where you could make the argument that one of those 2 teams probably could have been the number 1 overall seed. And so it's a shame it's not in the national championship, but that's still going to be a hell of a game there in the semifinals.
And if things play out the way that they could play out, one of those two teams, the best two teams we think in the country, are going to have to go against probably the best coach of this decade in college basketball and Hurley in the championship game. Guys, we're this far into Dan Hurley's career at UConn. He hasn't lost a game after the first weekend of the tournament since he's been at UConn. That's an absurd stat. If he makes it past the first weekend, he's undefeated at UConn.
That's unbelievable.
And it took him forever to get a major job. It's crazy.
I could see the abrasive personality being difficult for some schools to hire, but he's a Seton Hall guy. His dad's a Jersey legend. He couldn't get a Big East job until he went to Buffalo and had to prove himself in the MAC. He didn't really go up the ranks. St. John's didn't take a look at him. Seton Hall never hired him. His brother was more of a hot coaching commodity, and he's flamed out now at Arizona State in his career.
Yeah.
So it's absurd. People can feel a certain way about the guy. Grant, I know you like him. Greg, I know you're not a fan. He's an arrogant blowhard, not probably a guy that you want to hang out with, but you can't argue this guy's a freaking good basketball coach, man. So the two best teams could be going up against our generation's best coach right now in the championship. One of those two teams against him, that's a pretty big storyline in and of itself.
There's no doubt about it.
Illinois is pretty good too.
I feel like we've dismissed Illinois this whole tournament. I know I personally have. I just didn't think that team, they weren't bad. They obviously were a good Big Ten team, got a 3 seed, may have possibly should have been a 2, but you could make that case for a few Big Ten teams. I don't know why they've decided to make the 7th place team in the conference a 2 seed, but that's the committee's decision. Illinois, they're so big, they're so just tall. Merkovic, you've got the Visich boys, and then Wagler's got his groove back a little bit. He went from NBA lottery next level, just kind of faded back a little bit towards the end of the year. So Illinois had some losses, but he's picked it back up here in the tournament. He had some moments in that Iowa game where you're like, oh yeah, I see why this guy's a top 5 pick. He put some guys on skates offensively. So it's not going to stun me to see Illinois win that game, other than Hurley doesn't lose at this level at UConn.
See, I want to touch on your thing about Hurley there. I do like him. I respect him as a coach. I think he's a great coach. I think you're right. I think he is this generation's best coach. Since you got the guys out of college, most of them, like kind of the old dinosaurs of Coach K and Boeheim, and Rick Pitino is on his way out again. Izzo probably doesn't have much left, but since you've gotten most of the old dinosaurs out of college basketball, I do think Hurley probably is the best remaining. He is a guy that I actually would like to have a beer with. Every time I've interacted with him, which has not been much, it's been limited, but he's always been real kind. He's real down to earth. He's all around, I think, a really great guy. Does he act a fool? Absolutely. He's got some night in him in a way, and he's really gonna teeter crossing over the line one day, and hopefully this doesn't happen. But you don't want to say or do the wrong thing that ends your career too short.
You see how close we came to that potentially being on Sunday?
Yes. I don't think in any I'm assuming you're talking about when he got in Roger Ayers' face after that shot.
When he went forehead to forehead with an official with 0.3 seconds on the clock after one of the most miraculous shots in the history of the game. It didn't get teed up. I don't know that it should have been teed up, but what if it had?
Yeah. Right. Now, and there is no way in hell Roger Ayers is giving that dude a technical. Like that just ain't the kind of ref he is. But
He made contacts with an official, man.
Right, exactly. Why put it on the table?
Because he's nuts. He's a psycho. That's how he is. And yeah, I mean, I don't know if you're a referee, if you call that. I know that the Duke announcers were more concerned of Malachi Smith for UConn ran off the bench when it happened, and it should be a technical. It should be a technical. Where no referee in the history of the game is calling a technical for that in that situation.
No chance.
There's just no way.
Ted Valentine probably would have. If Kay's on the sideline and Ted Valentine's on the court, that's a technical. Hurley gets suspended and probably vanished from basketball. And Valentine and Coach K just right off hugging into the sunset.
And
that's right.
I'm curious your guys' reaction to that shot. Just the entire sequence.
Just an absolute Duke. They were freshmen. They hadn't been freshmen all year, but they were freshmen in that moment. The only thing you can't do there is what they did. You can't live ball turnover in any way, shape, or form there. If Caden Boozer had thrown up a half court heave towards the backboard and missed and it gone out of bounds, it would have probably run off enough time for it not to matter.
Right.
He could have thrown the ball straight up into the air and maybe hit the scoreboard. It would have been a dead ball. At least you could have set your defense, and it would have taken up at least the time that it took for it to get to the scoreboard. The only thing you couldn't do there is what they managed to do. And Shire was the one pointing it along. He's telling him, throw the ball ahead, throw the ball. No, get fouled. Get fouled.
Yeah.
UConn is trying to foul you there. Get fouled.
I had only been paying half attention because I just assumed Duke had won.
Right.
And then
same.
Right. Oh, right.
Oh, this is tuned it out.
Yeah. Oh, this is interesting.
I know we talk a lot on our IU podcast, but maybe we can bring it up here with Greg on the line with us. We hear so much, and we talk all the time about how honest Matt Painter is. Do you think he told Braylon Mullins, hey, man, if you want to play in the Final Four and win a national championship, go to UConn. Don't come to Purdue. Go to UConn. Do you think he was that honest in his recruiting pitch? Because we know he's the most honest human being that's ever walked the face of the earth.
Imagine telling that kid you don't want him at Purdue because it's going to cut into Fletcher Lawyer's minutes. Seriously, imagine. Imagine you're Braylon Mullins and you get told by Matt Painter, you know what, we'd love to have you here, but I just don't know we could play you over Fletcher Lawyer, man.
Yeah, you know what, Grant? The only thing I could think of would be worse would be not hiring Dusty May so that you could keep a coach who thinks his name is Braden Mullins for another season.
The first text I got after that shot went in was Woodson couldn't get his ass off the golf cart to recruit that kid.
That's old Braden Mullets there from Greenwood.
By the way, Purdue report with Jake Dunn coming up on Wednesday evening, everybody.
Do you think Mike Woodson went to Greenwood High School to recruit him, not even realizing he was from Greenville or wherever he's from? Greenfield, my apologies. Greenville's down by me.
Yes, it is.
I'm curious, do you guys have a favorite Final Four memory? Like, it can be as a fan or, maybe if you've been to one or when it's been in Indy. Is there a favorite Final Four memory? Because I got one. I'd like to share it first before you answer. So
I'd like to predict the future right now and guess that Hutsell's going to bring up Purdue.
A different team that I really dislike in the Final Four is the memory I'm going to go with.
See, my favorite memory's got to be is my senior year of high school, the Final Four fell on prom night. And it was UConn, the first year they won it in 23, where it was FAU, San Diego State, Miami, and UConn. So it was like two mid-majors and then a team that hadn't been there in a long time and someone you just never thought was good at basketball. It was the first game, which was San Diego State and FAU, and San Diego State hit a shot at the buzzer to win with Lamont Butler. And I was watching it on my phone with a group of guys. It was in the middle of like a quiet part of the dance. Like they were slow dancing or something. We were watching it in the back. And that shot went in. And just next thing you know, like me and a group of 3 or 4 dudes are like losing our minds at prom because that shot went in.
And the ladies loved it.
Oh, I'm sure they did. I mean, that truly was one of my favorite Final Four memories. And then in 2015, I went to the Final Four stuff. Like I was down there when Wisconsin beat Kentucky. Kentucky was undefeated. That was cool. So those are a couple of my favorite ones. I'm hoping to add to that this weekend.
Well, now that Grant has completely shit on my parade, I was going to go with one of my first of all, Greg, it's hard to really talk about Purdue Final Four memories when it's literally been 2 in my lifetime, and one of which I was 1 year old. Not a real deep pool to swim in there, but Calipari blowing that game in 2015 with the undefeated team, and I celebrate my wins so much because so rarely do I get a chance to be right on college basketball picks. But I told anybody who would listen that year, if Kentucky plays Wisconsin again, Wisconsin is going to win the game because I just knew. And my brother-in-law and my ex-wife's sister, they were both big Kentucky fans. They're at the game. They're texting me, "Oh yeah, we're gonna be the new undefeated team. No one's ever gonna talk about Indiana again. 76 what?" And I'm like, guys, just be careful. When Wisconsin ends up winning that game, my brother-in-law texts me, $15 for my championship tickets. Do you want them? It's like, yup. So I got to go to the Duke Wisconsin title game that year because Calipari pissed away a undefeated season to appease the Harrison brothers and not play Devin Booker and Tyler Ulis in the final few minutes against Wisconsin.
Mike, I was going to say Villanova, Georgetown, but I'm going to change mine to yours. That's my favorite moment in Final Four history.
There's some obvious ones. Keith Smart.
Yeah.
Right.
87. That's really one of my
one for me.
That's one of my first real memories as a sports fan is the Keith Smart shot. I was young, just learning about things. So that was huge, obviously. 2002, when Indiana's there, they beat Oklahoma in the Final Four and knock off Kelvin Sampson, ironically enough, in a Final Four game. That was pretty cool because that whole run was just out of nowhere for Indiana. You have Chris Jenkins at the buzzer against Carolina. That was wild.
And somebody, Mike, brought up to me the other day because I sent him a text and I was like, where does the Mullen shot rank all time? And he said number 1. And I'm like, okay, I don't know. I don't know about number 1. And I'm thinking, well, Jenkins at the buzzer. And he brought up a point. And I'm not saying I agree with you. I'm just telling you what he said. He brought up Jenkins at the buzzer. He goes, I think that's a little overrated. The game was tied. It's a little bit like hitting a field goal to win the Super Bowl.
No, it's a walk-off 3 at the buzzer to win the national championship.
There's no way you can think of it as being a game-winning field goal in the Super Bowl. There's just no way you can think of it that way.
I'll have to text some of my friends and contacts in New England that I know. I'll see if they were okay with Adam Vinatieri kicking all those game-winning field goals that won the Super Bowl, and see if they were okay with how those games ended. I have a feeling their answer is going to be.
Let me know what they say, Mike.
Yeah, I have a feeling I know what the answer is going to be. If it's
they barely won all of them, Mike.
that bottom of the ninth grand slam you hit didn't really matter because the game would have gone to extra innings if you didn't hit it.
Right. Right. Yeah. And then Suggs hitting the half court shot at the buzzer for Gonzaga in Indy the last time it was here. That was unbelievable too. I remember watching that live. There's been some great ones. I really think that if the NCAA, and I'm saying this because I'm from here, but I really think if the NCAA had a permanent home for the Final Four, it should be Lucas Oil in downtown.
Well, people have been saying that about, going back to the Hoosier Dome.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the natural. I can't believe the Big Ten does their tournament anywhere other than Indianapolis.
That's really confusing to me. Right. I don't understand that.
Now they're at Los Angeles.
It's going to end up in Vegas. We know this.
Yes.
We hate this. You should never do an event in Minneapolis. I'm not even sorry. Minneapolis sucks. The weather sucks. The stadium's okay.
No one wants to be there.
No one wants to go to me. It's like you don't look at your, oh shit, yeah, boys, we're headed to Minneapolis this year. Nah. And
just a little reminder here is that the Final Four is not really going to go that far from Indy next year, where it's going to be in Detroit in 2027. The following year, it'll be in Vegas in 2028. And then 2029, it's actually back in Indianapolis. So and then 2030, I think, is in Dallas, and they call it North Texas, so Dallas. But it'll be interesting to see after 2029 when the next Final Four will be in Indy, because then you'll have had 3 Final Fours in the decade that were in Indy.
Yeah, but doesn't the NCAA have some sort of agreement that Indy has to host some level of the tournament, like every other year or something?
Yeah, there could. I don't know, honestly.
Seems like it.
That seems about
30 years, I think.
Look. When your headquarters are in Indianapolis, at some point or another, the peak of the tournament and your grand finale, what everybody are there to see, has to be in your backyard. It has to come to where you're making the decisions at some point, right?
Greg, correct me if I'm wrong. This is the 3rd straight year that Indy has hosted some level of the tournament, because Purdue's first 2 games in the Edie year were in Indy, right?
2022 and 2017, 2015, 2021, 2017, 2013, 10, 9, 6, 5, 3. Yeah. Pretty much every 3rd year, it seems.
Okay.
As crazy it was, they shouldn't ever do it again, but how easy was it to pull off doing the entire freaking tournament in Indianapolis?
That was awesome. And it truly was one of the better tournaments in terms of upsets and games that happened. That was really one of the best tournaments. And it was put on really great because Indiana, the state, has the facilities for it.
And now you've added the facility in Noblesville. You could do it. Mm-hmm. You could do things there, and you have Hinkle,
and that's where the Horizon League has moved their semis and championships, is to that place in Noblesville.
No more trips to the fairgrounds for you anymore, Grant. Sorry.
I know. I'm actually kind of pissed off about it, to be honest, because the fairgrounds were awesome.
Hockey. All right, Mike, I've been on Arizona from the start. I think Arizona is going to win a good win against Michigan and beat Illinois for the championship. What about you?
I lean with you. As much as we want to talk up the Big Ten and what they've done in this tournament, it's been amazing. What was it? 5 teams in the Elite 8,
right?
2 teams in the Final Four. Arizona, man, that team just, when they get going, they can completely break you. And Purdue for a half looked like that was going to be a game. And when they came out at halftime, it was, they made Purdue look like a MAC team. And this, they completely broke Purdue's spirit in that game. And that's just what they're capable of. They They don't take bad shots. They impose. They get to the line against you. They defend. They got big men. They got NBA level big men. Koa Pete is incredible. I think he's making quite a name for himself here in the tournament, even though he kind of already had going into the. So yeah, this just looks like a team that really since day one has been the best team in the country. Michigan's had some moments, but they've also had some downs. And I think in the final, I'm going to pick them to beat UConn. I don't know if it's just I can't get on the Illinois train. I just can't do it. It's just not in my DNA. So I'm going to go Arizona over UConn. And amazingly, with all these teams that have made it, another year with no Big Ten championship.
Grant, you taking Michigan?
First game, I'm going to take UConn to beat Illinois. Semifinal number 2, I'm going to take Arizona to beat Michigan. Kind of for the reasons Mike just said. I think Arizona is just, they're hot right now. They're rolling. Michigan, a team that I feel like has kind of, in a way, minus maybe the Elite 8. Well, yeah, definitely not the Elite 8. I don't want to say has underperformed in a way, but I just don't think they're playing to Arizona's strengths right now. I don't think they're catching Arizona. So in the championship next Monday night at Lucas Oil Stadium, UConn and Arizona, I'm actually going to take UConn to beat Arizona and win their 3rd title in 4 years.
Wow.
I think there's a little bit of a team of destiny there. They have the experience that Michigan and Arizona and even Illinois don't have in the Final Four. They've got Caravan who will play in 3 Final Fours. Solo Ball's played in at least, I think, 2 or 3, at least 2 Final Fours now. Then you add
Caravan can be the first non-UCLA player ever to win 3 national championships.
Exactly. I think there's the experience. There's the experience from the staff, the guys on the team. Terrace Reed kind of took over, I thought. Mullins gets the credit for the hero shot, but Terrace Reed helped keep him in that game in the Elite 8 against Duke with his play. I'm taking UConn to beat Arizona in the championship.
I think I would listed my teams, but I don't think if I didn't make it obvious, I'm going with Arizona to win. 2nd title in school history, both in Indianapolis.
Yep.
97 in Rick Pitino's last game, they beat Kentucky in overtime and ended the chance for Kentucky to win 3 titles in a row. Thank you very much, Miles Simon. You'll forever be my boy. And Grant, can we end on my parting shot? I texted it to you, and I said I was going to bring it up. If UConn wins, is Alex Caravan everything we're told that the Purdue seniors are, except he has the actual rings to prove it?
I honestly, Mike, don't know how to answer that. I don't know.
Appreciate it as always.
I'm going to say yes.
Love you, Greg.
Even when Purdue was up 8 on Saturday, there was no way they were beating that team, guys. That team is just really freaking good.
They are. I said Purdue's up, but it took 2 Ja'Carry Harris 3s.
That's right.
Mothballing Daniel Jacobson out of nowhere. And I was like, I feel like Tommy Lloyd's probably feeling okay right now, even though he's down.
Thanks, everyone, for listening. Please check out the IndyCar Report later today and the Colts Report on Friday. The Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media, and I love Susie.